This is Shorthammer. It is the 19th of December 2020, and this is Trading Zones. We had an insane week as far as just everything, just a crazy week, all time highs, things are ripping. And one of the main takeaways from the week is the um, banks post market on Friday passed their stress tests. So a lot of the banks gapped up. They also were approved to do share buybacks, at least in the first quarter. So I would expect the financials to continue to rise, and we'll get into that. Looking at the MES, what we're seeing is just continued buying above those 3700s, and it was just insanely high. So what I would be watching for, one moment, let's see, what I will be watching for is, pardon me, just multitasking. Okay, so we pushed up around the 3720s, but what we spent most of the day doing on, I believe it was Thursday, is just bouncing around between those 37 teens and those 37 3700. I'll say like 3705. We're just bouncing around in there. We couldn't really get any true movement. So we had some extension in during the quad witching on Friday. So the MES levels, let me get into this. I won't get into all that other stuff. Let me just roll through these charts. So if you're bullish on this, right, and we should see some movement in response to the all the banks passing the federal stress test. So what we should see is more upside here, right? And there is going to be a conundrum or something that we do want to consider. This run here was primarily based on the financials, right? Like this run we've been on. And the question that you want to ask yourself is, the financials are going to break to the upside, or they've already broken to the upside post market. Will they continue to break on Monday? Probably. The question you want to ask is, what does that mean for tech, right? Will tech come off? And that's going to be really interesting to look at. Will tech sell? And if tech sells, how will that impact the S&P? So it's an interesting thing to look into, to see that, you know, the market may be overall bullish. There's a potential there. The question is will the S&Ps just march up with the financials? Will technology join in the rally and head to the upside, or will technology pull back, right? So that's something to watch on Monday and Tuesday. Remember, we have a shortened week. But looking at the MES, if we pull back, watch 3700s, 3691, see if we catch a bid in that area. Below that, watch 3667, 3652, 3610, 3587. I don't know where there would be any cause for a sell off. Just because you just had the banks' financials are going to be rallying, they just passed the stress test. You have Congress considering the stimulus package. It seems as if they're pretty much in agreement. So right now they're just working out the fine details. That's also going to be bullish for the market. Why? Because you're going to have specific industries and corporations that are going to be receiving money from the stimulus package. Also, individuals will be receiving money from the stimulus package. You know, we're coming through the Christmas season. People are going to be spending money. So regardless, it's going to be more money pumped into the economy. One of the things you may want to do, and I know this is a whole lot of talking when we're supposed to be just running through the technicals, but one of the things that you may want to consider is when that stimulus package is released, right? Once it's approved and that bad boy is released, you may want to go through and read it and find out which specific industries are receiving money from the federal government and which specific industries are being left out in the cold. That's going to be interesting. Is money going to be going into like restaurants? Is money going to be going into cruise lines? Is money going to be going into airlines? Where is the money going specifically? Find out which industries are receiving money. Whichever industries are receiving money, keep an eye on those specific tickers to see if they move up. which industries are not receiving money. Keep an eye on those tickers to see if they'll be moving down. A lot of corporations and companies are struggling right now, right? And they're looking for a bailout. There could be mass layoffs if specific industries don't receive money from the federal government. So keep an eye when the stimulus package is released. Make sure to figure out and read into it to find out which industries are getting some of that money. So let's keep it moving. Move on to the Russ. Now, the Russ is made up of a ton of different types of products, but one of the big things that's in the Russell are banks. Like a lot of banks, not just the big boys, but they also have a lot of I'll say regional banks, credit unions. So this is really interesting. You can see the strength in financials. If you want to compare the Russell and the S&P, you could just see this is just straight bull mode. Look at this. This is insanity, right? So the Russell's just driving to the upside, and what we'll probably see is more movement to the upside um, on Monday. So just keep an eye on this to see if the bid stays on the financials and they keep pushing financials up, right? So I drew these lines in here, and to me, right now, these lines aren't super valid for me yet. Like it's not something that I will really be uh trading off of heavily, right? So for me right now, when we're at these highs that are insane, I'm personally using Elisa's power of pivots script because it's predictive in nature, right? So like my lines are more retracements. Her pivot script is showing you where things are going, even if they've never been there before. So that's sort of what I'm using on my intraday trades for the tickers that are at all-time highs, and it's really helping me find those levels. Now let's keep it moving into Amazon. Mm-mm-mm-mm. So if you remember last week, what we mentioned on Amazon was this, right? So this white line down here is the bottom of a channel that Amazon has been in for well over a month. This top portion of the channel, that's the top, right? So this is around 32.20, and this down here is around 30.80, right? So like 30.80s, 32.20s, those are the areas you want to watch. If we break above this and you see bullish structure above this multiple days, you may want to look for the upside, right? If we push through and we sell back through, we might be stuck back in the channel and we might start to see drift back to the 31.40s, maybe even lower down to the 30.80s. So you can just look back at this candle structure from roughly the 12th of November and just look at the inability of Amazon to either be bearish below the 30.80s or bullish above the 32.20s. Look at this, right? So we popped here, and I actually put on a short position on this push that I had to exit really quickly on this run up. But I should have had faith in the setup, right? And waited to see if we remain bullish multiple days or if we'd retrace. But who knew? And so that actually would have been a pretty good trade on the pullback through, but I did not hold on this push because on the 4 hour we looked so bullish headed into the close on was this Thursday or was this I think this was Wednesday. We just looked so bullish into the close that I jumped out of the trade, right? But if you looked over the corresponding days, we retraced. This is going to be a rough area to hold above. We'll see. So after the close, you saw we pop back up above. So we're still in the 32.20s, but we're back above that line that we have here in the lower 32.20s. So what I want to watch on Monday is will they buy be sort of net buyers of Amazon and squeezing it above the 32.20s, and will we pop 32.68? If we pop 32.68, we do want to watch for a potential squeeze through 33.44s, 33.70s, 33.86s. Maybe we go on a run, right? We're headed into the Christmas season. Their numbers should be amazing. We'll see. And also, they're doing a great job. I believe I mentioned this in the last video. They're doing a great job with Amazon Web Services. Lots of companies and corporations are coming online. All the sort of the statements in the news out of, or the PR, you could call it, out of Amazon is like, hey, they're years ahead of where they thought they would be as far as subscribers and users of Amazon Web Services. They think it's going amazing. they're still pushing their delivery side where they're taking more ownership of delivering packages. Yes, there's still other delivery services that are involved, but they're sort of cutting back on how much they're spending to deliver those packages. So there's so many different things that Amazon is doing. They're still doing wonderful with Whole Foods, right? During COVID, people are getting things delivered. So there's so many different things that Amazon is doing a great job with that. Maybe it should run more. Maybe it should be worth more. Maybe. I don't. That's not something that I would I'd say think to say how much Amazon should be worth, or people that have paid a lot of money to do that. But this is an interesting thing because I don't think Amazon has really. It's almost like as if it's been consolidating between the 3080s and the 3220s, and it's kind of funny to say that a ticker is consolidating um, when it has over 100 points of range within that consolidation. But Amazon is one of those tickers that tends to expand and it tends to stretch. So at whichever way it decides to break out of this consolidation, which is what I consider it does have room to move the length of this, if not more, right? So from 3080s to 3220s, it's like, was that 100 and is that 150 points? So if this extends up 150 points, that's 33.6. So maybe up here, 3370s ish. Maybe that's possible. Don't quote me on the math. You guys have calculators. You can do this yourself. But just keep an eye on this, right? And look for the expansion, and look for the buying pressure, and look for the options flow on Amazon to see which way this is gonna go. Out of this consolidation, extensions below the 3080s, I will be fading. Extensions through the 3020s, if we get above 3268, I will be longing, and we'll see how that goes, right? And that's just me looking for intraday setups. And this is not me swinging Amazon for a month or 3 weeks or 2 weeks. I don't have that much faith in almost any ticker, right? So what I'll be looking for are setups that I could take intraday based on these higher time frame levels, and that's what I'll be looking for intraday on a ticker like Amazon. But keep your eyes open on Amazon. Watch this level. The main theme is we're up against the top end of this channel, and see if we extend, right? Extension up, you see these lines 3268, 3344, 3370, 3386. Watch whatever you use intraday, whether you're using EMAs, whether you're using Bollinger Bands, whatever you're using intraday to be able to figure out when to jump in or jump out of something. These are some levels to watch on Amazon to sort of give you the higher time frame view of what may be going on, right? Or what you should be watching for, and which direction you should be looking to get into based on your time horizon. Netflix. So Netflix out of this triangle. Look at this pop, this run, 529, 535 painted. I was expecting a little bit more bullish action. Should have expected it to be kind of funky with quad witching, right? So I wanted to push through 535 on Friday for a potential squeeze in the 542. That did not happen. I would keep an eye on Netflix to see if we can hold above the 529s going forward. If we hold above the 529s and we can catch a bid above the 535s, keep an eye on the 542s. If we fade through the 529s, then we may see a little bit of dropping in here, right? So we'd watch the lower 520s to see if we can catch a bid there and sort of a buyback up. But if we happen to roll through those lower 520s, then you definitely want to keep an eye on the 512s and the 513s, right? That's an area to watch to see if the buyers step in there. That's been a previous area on the intraday of a little bit of contention, a little bit of struggle. So let's see if we can see some buying on that. So Netflix is definitely interesting. People are still home, and Netflix signups should definitely still be rocketing. The question that we asked on Netflix is, with the vaccines being released, what's sort of the thesis that traders are looking for? Are you looking at the thesis of people will be back to work, there'll be less people watching Netflix? Or is it the thought process that for the next quarter, their numbers should be great because people will be watching for the next quarter. And, quite a few people, actually the majority of the country, won't even have access to the vaccine. And this is speaking about the US. They won't even have access to the vaccine until springtime, right? So many people won't even have access to this until springtime. So maybe the economy isn't really back up and running. I'll say semi normal until the summer. So so this earnings and the next earnings for Netflix may actually still be under sort of the COVID lockdowns that we're dealing with in different states. So that's going to be interesting for Netflix. But definitely watch these technical levels. I think that we may have more upside. Definitely play this. This is nice. And if you're just watching some of these levels and these buttons, just the buying and the strength from this week, it's been really interesting on Netflix how it's just refused to drop back below the 507s and 504s. So keep an eye on Netflix. And let's see if we can get over 535 and be bullish through 542. What we've mentioned in the past is that Netflix has this crazy pattern that when it gets down around the 470s, right below that level, look to buy. When it gets up around the 550s, look to short, right? Start looking for short setups on this, seeing if we fail and we fade back below that level. So keep an eye on Netflix that we may get out of this bottom area an extension through the 550s. We'll see how that plays out, but there's a lot more news in play right now as far as the vaccine that, may be interesting how traders may view that on Netflix and how they may look for different plays and setups on Netflix if they think it's still bullish headed into the next earnings season. And if they want to still buy this at these levels and squeeze this through the 550s and maybe even higher. NVIDIA was incredibly interesting. And these two lines that we draw, or that we drew, I should say, what we're looking for was for me to be bullish on NVIDIA. I wanted to break up over the 547s and I wanted to be bullish above this through the 555s, right? And if it dropped below the 536s, all interactions with that level looking to fade. And just throughout the week, it struggled to get over the 536s. So it's more bearish than not, right? And so the interesting thing on the run up into these levels is that we could not find a bid above the 536s. So this area to me is really interesting on Netflix, and I mean not Netflix, on Nvidia. And so what I'd like to see is going into next week, do they buy this above the 536s, and do we have the strength to squeeze above the 546s and 547s. So I'll definitely be watching Nvidia and keeping an eye on it. But if we can't regain the 531s and run up through the 532s and pop the 536s, I'll be watching if we get drift down into the 514s. So I'll be keeping an eye on Nvidia headed into this week because it's definitely an interesting setup here. And these lines that we drew in, they definitely did hold up. Facebook. If you remember our Facebook chart, above the 279s, this green line, we're more bullish than not. And below that line, we're more bearish than not. So all pushes into this line, we're looking for, will we get a sort of continued bullish action above it for us to be long? Or will we fade below and will we be short, looking for fades up the 279s? So NVIDIA was, I mean, Facebook, pardon me, one of those weekends. Facebook was really interesting this week and it gave a lot of great setups, most of them short, but there were definitely some long trades in it also. So headed into this week, what am I watching on Facebook? Can we get a break above the 279s? If that answer is no, then I'll be looking for short setups on this, right? And what's super interesting about this is, well, I'll stay on the 4 hour time frame. It's so interesting on the lower time frame. But there are a lot of little in between levels on Facebook through the 274s, the 277s. They're just really interesting levels that you can sort of watch these little pockets that when it gets into those little pockets, there's a reaction where it'll pop up or pop down, right? So you see some great trades there. But keep an eye on Facebook because they have so much going on right now. Just news of them being sued by all these different attorneys generals, news of just all this different legislation that's going on in Europe against these monsters, these quote unquote monsters of tech, right? So my recommendation is just be careful. And also with the bid that's now under financials, we don't know if there'll be an outflow from tech stocks into financials. So maybe just based on the sentiment of the market, tickers like Facebook, like an NVIDIA, like a Netflix, like an Amazon may pull back, not necessarily because of the news that, anything is going on with those specific tickers, but just because money is flowing into other other places like the financials or maybe Tesla, just that there are other sexier picks right now. And also depending on what the stimulus package says, and depending which industries are targeted for relief, that could also impact where some of this money is flowing in the market, right? So keep an eye on that. It's going to be really interesting. Intel. And if you look at Intel, we had a nice bit of selling on Friday, broke through a few levels. What we're going to be watching for on Monday is this 4720s area, right? Will we hold up there or will we continue selling to the downside? These are some big sell candles. Let's see if selling continues. If we don't catch a hitch or a bid here, right, and bounce, and look at the last time we were there. Saw this pullback. This is November 27th. Saw the pullback, back test, took off to the upside. Back test took off to the upside, right? So here we didn't get that back test that we got on at this level, or at this level. So we didn't see that jump, pullback, springboard, jump, pullback, springboard. We didn't see that here, and we sold. Try to get us back above, couldn't hold. Look at this sell. So at this level, let's see, on the first interaction we did see a bounce, right? We did see a bounce out of that area after we made higher highs, meaning push to the next level, and we pulled back. The first touch of the 49.16-ish area, we did see that there was a demand pocket and we popped back up through the 51.11s, right? So on this level, this next time down, there was no demand pocket. We sold straight through the 49.16s. You can see a slight one here. That's, I'm not going to count that, but that's a slight one here. You saw this just sell back up, then the sell back through. So here we saw a slight bounce on the interaction with this area, right? That means a slight demand pocket. And we'll see if on Monday this continues to sell. If the buyers step in, my wonder is, will we see a pattern repeat and potentially see a bounce back to the previous level? Possible. Or will we see a sell through where there's the demand pocket is too weak and the selling pressure is too heavy and we drift down to the 45.40s? So definitely keeping an eye on Intel and wondering at which level will the buyers step in and give us a relief bounce. I have to find out why they're selling this way, and I'll be reading up on it to figure out what's the strength of this selling. If it's something major and I don't want to, try to catch a relief bounce here once I see buying stepping in, we'll see. But definitely read up on Intel and find out why it sold like this on Friday. Microsoft. And Microsoft actually, a few times this week, it was going the opposite direction, even though Apple was buying up this week. There are a few times that just on my intraday trades, Microsoft was Microsoft and Apple actually were affecting the cues, and I sort of wanted that downward momentum on some of the plays that I had on. Just couldn't get it just because of how strong Microsoft was and how strong the Apple was this week. So looking at Microsoft, we're above the 217.70s, right? Where we said when we get above that, we're more bullish than not, right? So what we want to see here is, do the buyers step in? Do we get a squeeze? If you look at the last few times that we came from below and bought through the 217s, 217.70s, actually upper 217s, what you see here, look at the extension through the next level, through the 221s and above, right? all the way into the 225s, right? That's crazy. Look how strong that move is. The next time we came through right here, right around the beginning of November. Look at the strength through, right through the next level, the 221s, and all the way through the 225s. Look at that strength. This time that we came through, there's just no strength. There's no continuation. Look, we're pulling back to the 217 area, right? So let's see if the buyers give us a spike here. So now we'll be keeping an eye on Microsoft to see if that's the case, or because of because each time that something breaks a level, the market's different. Maybe right now the sexy picks temporarily will be financials just based on what happened with the stress test. So we'll see if there will be inflows into Microsoft, and if this upcoming week, if people are net buyers of this, right? We'll see how that works out. So if we hold the 217s and we run back up to the 221s, I'll be looking for a pop through the 225s. We'll see if that happens. If we begin to sell back through here, watch out for the 215s, the 213.24s, so 215.84s, 213.24s, then potentially 208s. So we'll see how that plays out on Microsoft. Definitely very interesting. GOOS is another ticker that we have been really keeping an eye on and loving these setups. GOOS pulled back here. You see, I made a little note below 30.28. Look for a short setup in the money put, and it just didn't play out that way. Never got a chance to make that entry, but it did give us great entries off of this 30.28s. So this area is demand until the sellers get enough selling pressure to push us through. Then it becomes supply, and I look for an extension down either into the next candle structure or into the next level that I have on my chart, which would be the 10 area. So we bought up off the 30.28s back to the 32.31s. We're catching a bid above that. So we'll see if we see a squeeze into the 33.70s. For me, I want to see if we can be bullish if we happen to get there above the 33.70s, or if we pull back. So I'll be keeping an eye on this. If we're still bullish on Monday and we squeeze through the 33.70s, and if we hold above and we are still bullish, I'll definitely be watching the next level. But my expectation with the interaction with the 33.70s level is that there'll be a little bit of selling, and we might see a pullback to this lower level here, the 32.30. So we'll see how this works out. But I will be keeping an eye on GOOS. Definitely very interesting. Had a few more comments on it in the last video that you can rewatch if you want those comments, because I'm just not going to get into that today. But definitely interesting ticker. Keep an eye on it year round, and look forward to move as we approach the winter months. CMG, insanity, and back above our 13, 12-ish, 11-ish area. Super bullish, nonstop squeeze, and we'll see if this thing just continues to make these highs. It's insane. Just insane. Like, that's all you can say about CMG, right? It's just strong as all get out. And this is one of those tickers you don't want to be on the wrong side of when it gets moving in a direction. It's like that statement: if you've got an elephant by the foot and the elephant begins to run, the prudent thing is to let him go. And this thing is moving. So we'll see where this tops out, or if it continues to go. I don't really have any levels above here, so I'll be using pivots, and you can use whatever you use to get those extensions in those higher levels when we're not trading retracements. But this did give us a dip buy on this pullback through the 1390s, and it ran it right back up. So CMG is strong, and for me, you know how they say that strong stocks tend to get stronger and weak stocks tend to get weaker. We'll see if this continues to go, right? But don't get caught, in my opinion, right? Because it's just my opinion. Don't get caught trying to catch a breakout on this. I would wait for a pullback to a level that you like, and then look for a long off of that level with whatever indicators or just tools that you use to find your levels. But these are the levels that I like on CMG, the 1394s, 1348s, 1296s. This white line was our 1311 area that we said we wanted to see bullish action above. And we got it, and it ran. I definitely did not catch any of this move this week on CMG. I was just so busy on other tickers. Let's take a peek at McDonald's. And McDonald's, just interesting. We want to see if we get continuation. Nice little pop here, right? 209s to 213s, painted 216s. Want to see if the 213s hold. Look at this area here. Look at this movement that you see above the 213s on McDonald's. You see this extension through the 216s and a little bit higher, maybe even the 220s. So we'll see if there's more buying this upcoming week in McDonald's if it holds above the 213.40s. If not, then I'll be watching to see if we see a little bit of selling. If we get below this, then we sort of are headed to the downside. I'll look to see what's going on with McDonald's into the 209s. But I'll definitely be watching at 213 to see if we hold and if the buyers step in there. We'll see. Insane. Tesla being on the wrong side of that this week was not the thing to be or the place to be. This thing just had just so much money flowing into Tesla this week. I looked at the volatility on the options and they were insane. So Tesla's just strong. It's just strong. So if you're looking to, is incredibly volatile. If you're looking to trade Tesla, just make sure you're on the on the right side. If you're on the wrong side, exit from the train tracks and do not get trampled. Right. So just try to figure out if you're going to trade Tesla. Look for different levels. Figure out where you want to get in, and try to play the direction that it's moving. Look for the trend. Try to follow the trend on Tesla, and then play the pullback, and then play for the next move off of that move, right? Pulse, impulse. So that's what you want to do with Tesla. So if we're looking at these levels, I do have some old lines here, 713s, 784s. Am I saying we're going to 713s? Maybe. We'll see how this shakes out. But these are levels that I have on Tesla. We're above the 651s, below that the 616s, the 585s, 579s, 568s. A friend of mine actually called the 568s as the level that I believe she got long off of, and she sort of rolled this out, right? So we'll see if this buying continues. Don't see a reason for it to stop on Tesla. So we'll see if we open gapped up at all on Monday. But just make sure to be on the right side of the movements of Tesla, and don't try to guess the direction. You can just watch the Tesla on your intraday and look for a setup that you like and just follow the trend. ZM, we saw a pullback into the 370s, and the thing with ZM that's interesting, right? Let me pull this, tighten this a little bit. Since we made this move, look at the pullback. The 370s, they've bought them up. Look at that, run back up, back down here again. They're buying us out of that area. What's that telling you? That's telling you that right now there's a demand level on the between the 370s and the 400 area. There's demand. You need this area to get knocked out, and for the selling to take us below the 370s in order for this thing to die. Whatever the reason for the people that are shorting ZM in this area, yes, you can make your money. But down here, just based on this area here, what happened on the 10th of November and also on the 16th of November, they're buyers here. They need to go away so we can see selling down to the 370s to the 340s and lower, right? So if you want to sort of set an alert and see when we heavily sell, when the sell volume is heavy and we push through the 370s and get below that and we see heavy sell volume and bearish setups or bearish candle structure, that may be the time to be looking for the downside on ZM. And also watching the vaccine news. And when people begin to get back to work, maybe there will be less clients or customers utilizing ZM. But as of right now, the buyers just keep stepping in, and we'll see if we get an extension into the 434s. That remains to be seen with ZM. It's not something I'm planning to trade on this upcoming week, but just wanted to show this chart and these levels and how this demand in the 370s just seems to remain relevant. Goldman Sachs. So this is what happened after hours. Look at that movement. I think it's about 5%. That's insane. If you go across all bank charts, whether it's BAC, JPM, you're going to see Wells Fargo, you're going to see a similar move. And so what we want to watch for is, does this continue on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday? We're headed into Christmas, right? So the market will be closed for Friday, I believe. I believe Thursday is half a day, but double check. But we want to see if we continue to buy throughout the week if this is strong. And with this strength, does that mean that money will be coming out of tech and flowing into financials? So that's something to watch for this upcoming week. Just where are the inflows and where are the outflows? There will be maybe a little bit of rotation going on. Look to see where the money is going and where the money is leaving, and be on the right side of that, right? So that's my 2 cents. Just keep your eye open. Before I go, let me not jet out of here without giving you these levels. So 243, above that 249, 255, 262, and above that 270s to the downside 232, 226, 214s, 207s, and then we have our channel here. What I've mentioned on Goldman Sachs, if you don't get any selling below the upper 220s, this thing is going to stay up, right? And we haven't seen that on this push. We haven't seen a sell back through the upper 220s. So this thing is just consistently getting stronger, running up. That they passed their stress test, and that all these different banks have been approved for their share buybacks during the first quarter. It's going to be interesting. So, buckle up. This upcoming week should be really interesting. We should have some range. We'll see how it plays out. Looking at the SPY, and I would need to, because I haven't been, I'm on the futures. So I need to draw the lines on this, but I'm really using pivots. We'll see what we see here if we get higher highs or if we get a pullback. Just be careful of your levels and don't get caught chasing, right? Look for a structural candle setup that you like if you're trading just anything that's at all-time highs. If you like this video, please don't hesitate to tap that like button. And if you'd like to receive more content like this, not just from me, but also content from Elisa, as she shows you how she utilizes her power of pivot script to find great pre-market, intraday, post-market setups, and also swing plays, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Power of Pivots. Thank you so much for your time. Merry Christmas. Have just some wonderful holidays, and just remain safe. And thank you so much for your time again. Enjoy your week.